Hello to all my booty seekers and cheek chasers. This is the Carpe Natem Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Della Hoya-Reynoso, and I am so grateful you are listening to this episode. If you're new here, you should know that I believe that my purpose is to uplift, inspire, and educate others to communicate masterfully so that they can better understand themselves and others. I've spent years in the personal development and transformational technology space, and I want to share with you the wisdom that was passed down to me from giants in the industry. So if you're on a journey of self-mastery like me, looking to make dreams a reality and willing to be a leader for your family and community, then join me in seizing the butt cheeks of life and giving them a big ol' squeeze. Let's jump into the show. So this episode is going to be about the book Think and Grow Rich. Now, this book was published in the 1930s and continued to be one of the most influential books of personal development titans for decades. I know so many people who constantly refer to Think and Grow Rich as the book that changed their life. And to be honest, I can see why. This book has principles in it that, if used correctly, can lead to someone being able to amass great wealth. And I'm not talking wealth as in just money. Wealth can be great relationships, freedom, love, experiences. Wealth is so subjective and so personalized that no one can tell you what your definition of wealth is. Only you can determine that. And using the principles in this book, you can obtain your personal version of whatever wealth is to you. And I think that's the craziest part about this book, because it says think and grow rich, but none of the 13 steps to riches that's mentioned in the book have any words that say money, finances, or any financial terms. A lot of it is autosuggestion and faith. As two examples, by using and understanding the principles that are laid out, the accumulation of wealth will be much easier for the person that understands and implements these principles compared to the person who will never hear about these concepts or who hears them and fails to apply them to their life. What I really believe makes this book so successful and stay relevant all these years is that it puts the responsibility of one's life back into the hands of the individual. This book encourages one to be actively engaged in their own life instead of staying in autopilot and just letting things happen to them. I have to be aware that the language in the book may be a little outdated. It was written in a time period that definitely had its fair share of misogyny, racism, and a couple of other isms in it. So I have to take what's in this book with a grain of salt and see how I can apply the foundational principles to modern day situations. I also have to be aware that the people mentioned in the book had their fair share of terrible actions and behaviors. For example, somebody that is referenced in the book very fondly is Thomas Edison. And from what I've learned about Thomas Edison, he did a lot of amazing things, but he was also known for terrible business practices. He was known for stealing ideas. There's a lot about him that I don't know, and I have yet to do my own research, but from what I do know and understand, he was a notoriously famous bully, and he would snuff out competition. I've been told that he was known for using patents and his resources in order to have an advantage over other inventors. Some people wouldn't even give him the title of inventor. So really, when reading this book, you have to look at it objectively. You have to read these chapters with this idea that you are trying to absorb principles that have helped others gain massive amounts of wealth. And like I said before, wealth isn't defined by what's in your bank account. Wealth is subjective. So whether it is love or quality relationships, or maybe it is physical material accumulation, these principles still reign true. They are what is used to manifest and create abundance in your life. Does it work for everybody? Absolutely not. Because I can guarantee you there have been millions of people who've probably read this book and had no success using or applying any of the principles to their life. With that being said, I still believe that the 13 steps to wealth or to riches is relevant and useful to those who are willing to pick up the tools and use them. I've personally read this book 6 or 7 times, and this is in the form of Audible as well as physical copies of the books. Every copy that I have has notes written in the margin. I highlight quotes. I highlight passages that I can go back and revisit and know that this was something that stuck out to me when I was reading the book. There are masterminds and whole seminars based off of the chapters in the book. I'm thinking about possibly doing some sort of mastermind with people who listen to this podcast, or maybe people in the local entrepreneurial community who would like to get together, establish a mastermind, and go over the principles of this book. This episode really is more of an introductory to the book than any actual diving into the book. Future episodes will cover chapters and certain principles from those chapters, but for now, this episode is just me introducing the book to you guys. And of course, I'm giving you my opinion on the book, which of course is biased. I'm telling you straight up, I love this book. I think it's one of the most successful, useful pieces of literature that can be used by almost anybody and see results in their life. I've seen people take these principles and grow their businesses, better their relationships, or find the partner that they were looking for. And I promise you, if you've been in the personal development space for a while, or maybe you haven't, a lot of these principles may be familiar to you. There's nothing that I am going to tell you that is brand new or is an invented idea that has come out of my mouth or of the mouth of the people that they're quoted from. They were passed down this wisdom from their forefathers, from their teachers, from their mentors, and that information has been passed down through generations. There is supposedly, in The Secret, they say that manifestation and these types of thinking can be traced back all the way back to Egyptian times and like way back into the human history, where people have been using these principles to obtain wealth, to rule nations, to take over empires. Successful generals, stoics, leaders, even generals of Roman armies were shown in their journals to possess this thought and these ideas and these principles. And they applied them in their life at that time in history. And either they had great success or they were able to learn from whatever losses that they had so that the next person that they passed it down to could make better choices. And that's kind of what I want to do here. I don't think you need every single step in this book. I don't think you need all 13 principles. I don't think you need the full recipe to pretty much everything. Sometimes it just takes one little seed to be planted into your mind, maybe one single chapter or a quote or a principle that I say to you. Maybe that's the one seed that gets planted into your brain and is allowed to survive and thrive in the soil that is your mind, because not everybody will take these principles and take them to heart. This message may not resonate with everybody, and it doesn't have to. But to those who it does resonate with, just know that your future can be something incredible, and it is completely in the control of you to make it happen. I wholeheartedly believe this. This is something I practice and live through in my day-to-day life. What is true for me is true for me, and what is true for you will remain true for you. I am just hoping that you are willing to consider an opportunity to hear some ideas that have helped others And maybe you can use these same principles and these same steps to then have success in your life, in your business. Do something that not only impacts your life and your family, but impact the world. I don't care what riches I accumulate from this. What I want is for you to take the words that I'm saying, that again, aren't even my own. These are words and wisdom being passed down to me from previous generations, from authors, from leaders who have used these principles. I want you to use them. I want you to take them. I want you to have this open mind and this willingness to grab your life, examine it thoroughly, and be like, I know what I want, and I'm going to take it no matter what the odds are against me. I am going to do what I believe is right so that I may make an impact on the world. And I genuinely believe that the principles in these chapters will help you obtain that goal. Where I see people struggling is the people that are being interviewed in this book may have some issues with their history. They may have done some things in their time, and we really can't do anything about that. I can't change the past. I can't change what William Randall Hearst did to the marijuana industry by banning hemp and spreading propaganda in his newspaper that he owned. I can't stop presidents and businessmen and oil monopolies and owners from doing what they did. I can't rewrite the past. But what we can learn from these people that have made it, who have had an accumulated wealth that is beyond our imaginations, is that we can then use those same principles to succeed at their level, if not more, and then do the right thing. Just because the previous person in charge was fucked up and ruined other things or made it harder for certain communities to have access to certain resources, whatever their sins are, learn from what made them successful so you can get to their level where you have the ability to enact change and then do the right thing. I don't see enough good people in power. I've met plenty of great people who have wealth and power and who are doing what they believe they need to do in order to create a better future. But what I want to do is create more of those people. I need to awaken more people so that way they can see the glitches in the matrix, so that way they step out of their autopilot life and stop being a sheep to the thoughts and opinions that are force-fed to us, right? I don't want to get super conspiratorial here, but there are forces out there that want people to stay dumb and close-minded and divisive. Because if we are so busy hating on our neighbor and looking to find faults in everything around us, then that not only limits our ability to communicate with our environment and the people in our proximity, as well as our communication with ourselves. And by disrupting that communication and that ability to freely communicate, they stay in power. The next revolution doesn't have to be won in blood. It can be won in thought and realization and spirituality, where we can lift the collective consciousness to a higher degree and we can all break free from this weird, silly existence that we currently live in and make a future that is better for everyone. We all have our interpretations of what is an ideal future. And where we should all intersect is that all people should be able to have access to resources like food and shelter and comfort. We should all have the ability to express ourselves and the ability to go after and pursue the things that bring us the most joy, instead of being stuck in a rat race. If you like to work, if you like to grind, then my heart goes out to you, because we need people like that. But if you also like to explore and paint and be inspired by the nature around you, you should be valued at the same rate and at the same level as somebody with a 8-year bachelor degree or a doctorates. Just because you have certificates and these experiences and all of these diplomas that say who you are doesn't necessarily mean that you have the ability to impact the world the way you want to. And maybe you don't have anything behind your name. Maybe you have at most a high school diploma, if that. Okay? Like, I'll be upfront. I didn't graduate high school. I got a GED because I got in trouble. I got kicked out of high school. And instead of having to go back for my senior year, I tested out. So I took my GED exam the minute I was able to take it. They said I think I had to be 17 and a half to take it. That day, when I was exactly 17 and a half, I went in, tested, passed, and never had to go back to high school again. But again, that was my choice, right? When I went to high school, I felt like I wasn't ever being taught anything that was going to be useful. I never felt like any of the material was going to help me anywhere in life. Then I went to college. And when I went to college, I was able to meet teachers who believed in me, who encouraged me to find myself and break my own perception of reality in order to shape the future that I want. So it doesn't matter if you have a formal education, if you have degrees, if you've had a job, if you've gone ups and down, it doesn't fucking matter. What matters is this right here, right now. The things I'm going to teach you in upcoming episodes, the things I'm going to express, and the ideas that are going to be formulated and thought out. I want to hear what your thoughts on them are. Okay, this is a conversation. This is not a lecture. This is me talking into a microphone and hoping that somebody listens. But to those who listen to this episode, let me know what you think. If I say something that doesn't make sense, if you have a perception that is different than mine, tell me so that we can both explore these perceptions together. All viewpoints are correct. And yes, I said all of them, because what is true for you is true for you, and what is true for me is true for me. And if we embody that and we learn to move together as a collective of higher conscious beings, then it would take away all need for things like war and famine and struggle and inequality. Of course, I am a firm believer of meritocracy, but I don't think that where you are born or who your parents are should dictate the quality of your life. You should be given the access that everyone is entitled to, the freedom to express oneself, the ability to communicate effectively. This is all available to us. And these principles that I'm going to talk about in this book, I hope, I don't care if you take all of them. If it's just one, let that one be the thing that takes you to the next level and break through whatever metaphorical ceiling you're currently standing under. Take from this book the lessons that are meant to inspire, uplift, and educate. Don't get caught up on the sins of man, because if we stand here and break down everybody who we've ever loved, we can see that they all have had terrible actions in their life. Everyone is guilty of it. No man is free of sin. Even the great Martin Luther King Jr. had marital problems. He was a civil rights hero and a God amongst men, but he was also an adulterer. He is a human being who makes mistakes just like everyone else. And if we were to focus on the mistakes of these people, then that prevents us from having effective communication and prevents us from absorbing and learning the principles that were taught to others that have helped them accumulate great wealth. The only person that can stand in your way is you. So if you are willing to learn and plant seeds in your mind that will grow fruitful trees of life from the deepest parts of your mind, then join me in exploring the concepts of Think and Grow Rich. As I educate you, educate me. Let's have a dialogue about what we're learning, about what we're applying, how to apply it. Where does this make sense for you? Where does it make sense for me? Let me know what your definition of wealth is. Let me know what you need in your life in order for you to feel like you have an abundance of wealth. What would an ideal future look like? If you had unlimited resources, what changes would you enact so that the future is a better place for your kids and your grandkids or the kids of others for the next generation? True leaders plant trees whose shades they will never enjoy. Think about that. These great men have the understanding that the tree that they plant, the shade of it, they will never enjoy themselves, but they do it because they know it affects the better future of the ones that they love for the next generation. And excuse me for using the word or the term men. It could be women. It could be non-binary. I don't give a fuck. Use whatever word works for you. You understand what I'm saying? These people, these humans, were able to do amazing things by applying these principles to their life. And you can too. And I really, really hope that you do. I genuinely hope that you listen to this podcast and that you get inspired by the words that I say so that you take action on your life so that you do something amazing. My dream right now, or one of my many dreams, is to one day be somewhere in a seminar in the world. Maybe it's at a Starbucks and I get recognized and somebody says, "Hey, I listened to your episode. I took action on my dream and look how great I'm doing." That's what I want. I don't care what I am given. What I want is for others to take what I'm saying, apply it into their lives and into their world to shape a better future, to create a life that has meaning and purpose that they can look back on their deathbed and be excited and proud of. And trust me, I'm doing it too. I'm putting in the work. I'm not all bark and no bite. I am walking the walk. I am applying these principles and doing the proper exercises and journaling and making all the healthy habits that I need to do so that my future is the best. Because if my future is amazing, that means that I've helped multiple people, because that is one of my parameters. That is one of my goals. That is the one thing that I want from the people that are listening to this. A better future for you, okay? I will fail myself faster than I will fail anyone else. So if I am in service and I am doing what I need to do to help you, to help others, then trust me, the end result will be stupendous. And I cannot wait to be sitting next to you and we watch this beautiful utopia that we create together flourish abundantly. I hope this resonates with you, and I really look forward to going over the principles in this book with all of my listeners. I believe that there's so much benefit to this book, and I cannot wait to read the chapters and share with you the wisdom from the fruit that I pick out of the knowledge tree that is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Carpe Natem Podcast. If you love this episode, please consider leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Music or iTunes. It takes 30 seconds for you, but for us, it helps spread positivity to more people during these chaotic times. It helps build a community, and it makes me smile from ear to ear. Speaking of community, we have a Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Carpe Natem. Just answer the 3 questions to get access to some extra motivation and inspiration on your timeline. If you would like to support the podcast, screenshot this episode, share this to your story, and tag me on Instagram at Carpe Natem 114. That is going to be my handle across all platforms, including TikTok, and I would appreciate if you gave me a follow. If you haven't already, please rate us and subscribe on Spotify or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. And lastly, you can find all episodes, linked to resources and opportunities for coaching and mentoring from me at carpenatem114.com. I cannot thank you enough for spending part of your day with me. You are all rock stars taking the necessary steps to be your best self, willing to do whatever it takes, and ready to grab life by the butt cheeks. So until next time, this is Nate Hoya-Reynoso signing off.